Okay, students, so in this video we'll be discussing as to how to solve different problems related with pedigree analysis. Now, why pedigree analysis is required, you will get anywhere. Pedigree analysis or pedigree chart is prepared for human beings because the lifespan of human being is quite long and you cannot expose human beings to test conditions or breeding conditions as we do in case of pea plants or Drosophila. And therefore, to trace how the characters are transmitted or what is the probability of occurring in the next generation, we make this what is called the pedigree chart. And you know that in pedigree chart we use different symbols, like a circle we use for female, square for males. Then if the circle or the square is shaded, it implies those individual which are having that trait which we are actually discussing. Suppose we are discussing about pattern baldness, or we are discussing about having fair skin or dark skin. So whatever character is in question, if that character is expressed by an individual, we shade that. And if it is not shaded, it means that that particular individual is not having that trait. When there is a horizontal line, it means meeting between two individuals, and a line coming downward vertically, it leads to the next generation. In the next generation, these are the siblings, and these siblings are written in the order of their, this is the eldest one, this is the youngest one. And since this is not connected to this line, so it is a person coming from outside. So this sibling is getting married to this, and this is the third generation. So that is how the pedigree is formed. There are other symbols as well, like if we draw, instead of a round or a square, if we draw a diamond shape like this, it indicates sex undetermined. Sex undetermined does not mean transgender. It means that maybe information is not enough. Maybe someone knows that a couple had a child, but whether the child was a male or female, that is not known. So those things are actually determined by these symbols. Okay, whatsoever. Now, let us discuss the first question. First question is, observe the following pedigree and answer the following question. So this is the pedigree we have. And what is the question? Identify whether the trait is sex-linked or autosomal. So in my earlier videos, I told you what characters are sex-linked. Sex-linked characters are those which are linked with the X chromosome. And autosomal means those which are linked with other chromosomes. So that is what we have to identify here. Second thing that they have given is, give an example of the disease which shows such a pattern of inheritance. Now, for example, here what we see, the male is an affected male, and in the next generation the female is affected, and in the next generation again a male is affected. Now this kind of inheritance is called a crisscross inheritance. So crisscross inheritance, crisscross means when the trait passes from the father to the daughter, then from the daughter again it may pass to the daughter or to the son. So such kind of inheritance is called crisscross inheritance, and crisscross inheritance is the character of sex-linked inheritance. Why it is so? Let us assume that it is a sex-linked inheritance. So suppose sex-linked means related to X. So suppose the male will have XY, the female will have XX. Now, if this is the combination here, XXXY, so for the male to show the character, a recessive gene has to be present. Let's represent it with small r. And in case of female, the female is not showing the character. That means the female is either a normal female or the female might be a carrier, because recessive trait we know is expressed only in a homozygous condition. So from here, suppose this is the condition, from here XX, and from here XR and Y. So what would have been the combination here? The combination would have been XXR, XXR, XY and XY. So what we are getting here, you see here, whatever females we are getting. So this is a female and this is a female. In both the female, only one recessive trait is there. Therefore, if the female is a normal female getting crossed with the person who is showing the trait, the recessive trait, then in the next generation there is no probability that there will be a female with the trait. But in the question what we are having, that there is a female who is showing the trait. So this probability gets cancelled out. Now we are left with this. If the female is this, then let us see whether it can be a probability or not of having a female who is showing the trait. So what we are having here, we are having X, XR, 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 XY, XR and Y. So here what we have, we are getting a female who is recessive for both the allelic position, and therefore this female will show the trait which is carried by the male. So under this condition, we come to a conclusion that it is a sex-linked inheritance and it is a recessive. So our answer will be, it is a sex-linked character and a recessive character. And this female, it is not a normal female but a carrier female, because if it is a normal female, it will not, in the next generation there is no probability of getting a female who is showing the trait. Now another thing, to confirm that it is recessive, we can also consider that let it be dominant. Then what will happen? Suppose if it is a dominant trait, suppose XD and Y. So under dominant trait, what will happen if the female is homozygous dominant? Then also in the next generation, there will be the trait shown by the female as well as the male. Every one will show the trait. You can do the cross and see. XD, XD, this getting crossed with this, XD and Y, this going with this, XD and XD, and D is taken as the dominant trait, XD and Y. So all the organisms will show the trait, but here all the organisms are not showing the trait. Therefore we know it is not a dominant trait, it is a recessive trait. So this is basically how we solve questions on pedigree. Let's take one more example. Here they are talking that hemophilia is a sex-linked inheritance. Here they have already stated that it is a sex-linked inheritance. Study the pedigree of hemophilia and answer the following question. Oh, one more thing was left earlier, that give an example of a disease which shows such a pattern of inheritance. So we can say that example can be hemophilia or color blindness in human beings. So here, this is the pedigree given. It is a CBSE 2011 question. Give reasons which explains that hemophilia is sex-linked. Now how can you say it is sex-linked? Because again we can say that here the trait is occurring only in the only in the males, and we know sex-linked inheritance expresses mostly in the males, because for the sex-linked recessive trait to occur in the female, it has to be recessive, both the allelic points have to be recessive, and that is a very bleak possibility. So since here the female is a carrier and it is sending the character over to the male. So second one, we have to give reason that it is caused by X-linked gene. So how will we show it? It is sex-linked caused by a X-linked gene. So we can say that, we have to write, give all the possible genotypes of 4, 5 and 6. Member number 4, 5 and 6, we have to write the genotype. So it is a hemophilia. So what we are finding, two individuals are totally normal, they are not showing hemophilia, because the question, the character or the disease here is hemophilia, so shaded portion will show hemophilia. So both are unshaded, so that means the parents are not having hemophilia. So not having hemophilia means in male it is a normal male, and in female there are two possibilities. One can be that it is a normal female. Now if male is normal, female is also normal, then in the next generation you can do the cross and see, all the individual will have the probability of having normal character. There will be no hemophilic case, but here there is a hemophilic case in the next generation. That means what? Now the male cannot be a carrier, because the moment the male will have hemophilic gene, the recessive gene, there is no allele in Y chromosome, so it will, or obviously it will become a hemophilic male. So males cannot be carrier. But in case of female, suppose there is a carrier. So there is a carrier female and this is a normal male. So if we do the cross between them, so what will be the possibilities? XY and this side X and XH. So XX, XY, XH and XHY. So what we are finding, this is the case where it is the hemophilic male. So the genotype of 5 will be XHY. Number 4 is a female. So female can be either normal female or carrier female. But if we look at 4, again it's marrying a normal male and their next generation is having hemophilic character. So obviously this cannot be a normal female. So this has to be a carrier female. So it will be XH, carrier female. And 6, it is obviously a normal male. And the last part of the question is given that a blood test shows that individual 14, now which is individual 14? This one. So individual 14 is a female. We don't know whether it is normal or carrier. Is a carrier. It is mentioned that it is a carrier. So blood test shows that individual 14 is a carrier. So it has made the question easier. So number 14 is a carrier. So XH. What is the probability that their first child will be a hemophilic male? So 14 is getting married with 15. 15 is male, and male showing no hemophilia means it is a normal. So it is a normal male. So if we do the crosses, you can do a Punnett square. Better to do a Punnett square. So we have XX is one probability, then XY, then XHX, and another probability is XHY. So what is the question? What is the probability that their first child will be hemophilic male? So what is the probability that the child will be male? So the probability is 50%, because we are getting 2 female combination, 2 male combination. So having a male, the probability is 50%. And out of the male, this and this, the chances of having a male is another 50%. So 50% of 50% will be 25%. So the probability of having a hemophilic male will be 25%. So this is how we solve questions on pedigree. Kindly go through the examples given in your book or in your reference. If you have any doubt, you can clarify it.